Hello and welcome to the Glamptuary Podcast, where we talk about the experiential outdoor hospitality industry. I'm your host, Bobby Marsden. We're very excited for you to be joining us and listening in on this episode where I had the pleasure of talking with Nabil Saweeres, owner-operator of Glamptuary Resort located near Lake George, Colorado. Nabil is a Colorado native. He's a husband, he's a father of two, and he left a very lucrative financial career in New York City to make a trek across the country to open up his dream glamping resort. In this episode, we'll speak with Nabil about how he made that move possible, some of the tips and advice he can offer for would-be glampsite owners, how he overcame some obstacles along the way, his expansion plans, and how he manages to balance a work-life schedule that sometimes has him working 30 straight days a month. So without further ado, let's dive in. We hope you enjoy. Hey, Nabil.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. Welcome to the Glamptuary Podcast.
Oh, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
I had a long history with glamping in my life, but just recently we've decided to launch this blog and this podcast to kind of highlight glamping resorts and locations and places that are also offering on-site experiences. And so we really loved what we saw and experienced at Glamptuary, and so we're really excited to have the chance to talk with you today.
Well, like I said, I'm honored.
Well, thank you for that. I think the first question, I would have for you is I read up a little bit and saw that you opened in 2019 in May.
That's right.
What was the planning stages like leading up to that? When did you first have the idea for a glamping resort, and kind of walk us through the evolution of how you came to breaking ground?
Sure. Well, to be honest, it was probably a 10-year process from the time I had the vision and was sketching out designs for the tent and, thinking about what I want it to be, and even partaking in a lot of different glamping experiences and kind of realizing what I saw as shortfalls and thinking about how I would solve those things and, what's really the ultimate experience. That probably started 10 years before, 2019. I was in a prior life, I was in personal finance, wealth management, and kind of decided I was done with that game. But, I didn't want to walk away one day and not have anything going. So it took a long time of planning and designing, and then moved back to Colorado from New York City. I'm a Colorado native, but did spend some time out in New York City. And I was here about 5 years before I could find the perfect property that I wanted. That's really kind of a big part of it. And there's a lot of mountain land out there, but, I was really looking for something special, and I think I found it.
When you were doing your land search, did you find that you had to tailor where you eventually landed based on the learnings that you found through the process of searching, or were you able to find a piece of land that basically aligned with what your vision was?
Well, a little bit of both, I guess. I started my search for the land not by looking at properties, but really looking at kind of some bigger picture things. So I wanted to make sure I could afford it. So some areas are more affordable than others. I didn't really want to compete with ski country. Colorado's known for its great ski resorts, and I love them. I'm one of them, but that's not really what I'm competing with. So that kind of narrowed things down. And then I looked for certain counties that were more open to, outdoor recreation and the development of that. And that kind of narrowed things down. And then, I have a sweet spot for this area. I was born about 20 miles from here in the mountains of Colorado. So that narrowed it down even further. So with all that said, it kind of gave me an area to start looking at specific properties, but I probably looked at, no kidding, 30 or 40 properties over the course of 3 years before I pulled the trigger.
Yeah, that aligns with a lot of stories that I've heard from other glampsite owners. And even with you moving across the country from New York, there's even a little bit more maybe at stake or at risk. What was that like as a discussion with your wife to decide to leave the East Coast, go to the mountains, and open this new business?
Well, yeah, there was a couple discussions moving to Colorado, quitting my job. I had a great well-paying job. I was doing really well in New York, but I think she knew deep down what I wanted to do. And, there wasn't any surprises there. Like I said, this was a 10-year process. And, while it's, to be honest, not her passion, she supported me, more than anything, and has sacrificed a lot for me to make this dream happen. So, it's not easy, and I definitely appreciate everything she's done for me to be able to do this. And there's a lot of considerations go into it. You kind of have to, at some point you have to jump ship and just go all in. And that's scary. But if you can't get over that, the only other way to do it is kind of halfway. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle, is just not committing.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's perseverance. There's going to always be obstacles, and it's about your passion, I think, that would carry you through.
That's it.
That would lead me to another question. As you were, I'm assuming we were kind of thinking about, okay, I'm not really happy. What I'm doing now, I'd like to try something different. Was glamping just number one at the top of your list? Did you have other ideas? Like, how did you end up landing on a glamping resort?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I knew I wanted to work for myself. That was kind of, I think, my first motivation. Regardless of how much money you're making, working for big corporations, you kind of feel, disposable at some points and vulnerable. And you think, if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, what's left? Aside from a bank account. So that, I think, was my first motivation. Then it was, well, okay, what do you want to do? And, like every, entrepreneur says, or, you Shark Tank or whatever you want to, talk about, it's, find a need, solve a need, and, that you're passionate about. And I really kind of stumbled on it, to be honest. I'm from Colorado. I love camping. I love the outdoors. My wife's from New Jersey, so bringing her out here and exposing her to that. She was a great sport and loved it, but, doesn't want to sleep on a rock, doesn't want to eat cup of soup all night. And, and neither do I, to be honest. And, now we have kids and, taking them out, it's a lot of work and a lot of gear that I've got. And, I've got everything. We could go camping, but I just realized we weren't that much. And my friends weren't going camping, and people talking about their kids aren't playing outside anymore. And, you see kids on the phone all day. And so that's the need that I discovered is, people need to get outside. People need to put their devices down and just hang out with each other. And it's really hard to do that at home or even on vacation, to be honest, because everything's so connected. So how do I solve that need of giving people what I think they really need in their lives and their families? And how do I intersect that with what I'm passionate about? And glamping kind of, popped up. So, well, that could be really cool. I could give people the experience of what I love about camping and being outdoors at midnight, but make it accessible to them.
That all sounds great. And I think you're absolutely right. Camping in theory sounds great. And then when you have to set the tent up and and then once you get the tent set up and you have the campfire going and then you go to sleep, wake up the next day, it's like, okay, what do we do now? What have you done also to elevate the experiential side? So, when families are there, for instance, they don't run out of things to do on the property, but they have choices to make to keep them occupied.
Yeah, absolutely. We get some guests that are weekend warrior types that just want to come out for 1 or 2 nights and just stay on property and relax. There's 15 tents spread across 80 acres, surrounded by millions of acres of national forest. So you can really just explore right from your tent. But we do get a lot of families that are coming from out of state or even in state that are coming for 4, 5, 6 days. And, they really want to have that real Colorado experience and all the memories that go along with it. So what we've done is kind of curated a list of the best providers of all these, kind of quintessential activities that you'd want to do on a Colorado summer trip. So horseback riding, ATV rentals, whitewater rafting, zip lines. There's a reservoir down the road, and we kind of, partner up with the marina down there and get you kayaks and boat rentals and things like that. So We also spend a lot of time with guests beforehand. People will call up and ask for some information that's on our website and we provide to you once you make a reservation. But how do you do all that? So, you want to go horseback riding and fishing. Well, you do the fishing in the morning. Maybe you can do it in the afternoon, or you might not want to do both in the same day for these or that reasons. There's a lot of value that we can add to your experience just from our local knowledge about how far away things are and what time of day is usually best for this or that. So we really try to help people, although we don't provide all those activities. We really try to provide, the package of, putting it all together and giving yourself the experience that you're really looking for. A lot of people come with this romantic vision in the back of their mind, and we want to make that a reality for them.
That's awesome. And I think that is such a cool thing when not only is the comforts of the bedding and the campfire and everything else is taken care of, but also there's choices for people to make. So it kind of becomes close to an all-inclusive in some ways, but obviously much more tied to nature.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's just it. We want you to just experience, all the good parts about these things and none of the hassle, right? None of the setup, none of the cleaning, none of the, I don't know where to go. I don't know who to book with, if you wanted to go whitewater rafting in Colorado, there's, hundreds of options, but we've kind of found the best. And we know if you're taking a family, take this route. If you want to go a little extreme, take that route, so people get what it is they're looking for, and it's not too wild or too tame, and everybody can enjoy it. And we get a lot of multi-generational families and groups, and we want the kids to be able to play with, grandma and grandpa and not have anybody be excluded. And, that's a big part of it. When you're trying to bring people together, you don't want to force them to do things that separate them, right?
And then you mentioned, the food, which we should certainly talk about, because I will say, I love cooking at a campfire. I love prepping food. It's something you look forward to, cooking in nature.
Absolutely.
I also love having someone drive up in a golf cart and give me a 5-star meal.
That's what we're going for. I do get that. I love that and kind of that frying pan on the coals and stuff, but it's just so much work. And it's kind of one of those things like, the idea of it is a lot better than the reality of it. Yeah. And, we just realized that, if you can wake up in the morning, unzip your tent, there's hot coffee waiting for you and you're seeing the sunrise and there's a couple deer that walk up, that experience is a lot more memorable than, waking up ice cold, lighting up a fire and making your own coffee. So it's the food I'd like to think is kind of one of our best kept secrets. You see these beautiful tents, they're secluded, you get it, you're camping, but nobody expects to get the quality of food that we deliver. And I kind of like that. We under promise a little bit and over deliver, and everybody walks away with a wow. And we're always kind of refining our recipes, and myself and my sous chef, we're always going through, hey, we could tweak this, that. Perfect. What did we do? And it's, again, it's a passion. It's not something that we have to do for any other reason than we want it to be the best, and if we can do all these separate things, if it's the best tent, the best bathroom, the best food, the best activities, we're going to be the best glamping resort. And, let's just do each one thing separately. So the food's something I really take pride in, and I think we all do here. And it just adds so much to the experience, not just being fed, but really enjoying your meal and not having to clean up anything afterwards. And, it's funny. A lot of our guests are people that have never been camping before and would never go camping if it wasn't for something like this. And that gives me a thrill, being able to get them exposed to something they never would have before. That gives me a kick.
Absolutely. And, you have built these tents, designed the tents, built the furniture, cooked the food. Like you're all over the place. This is kind of a tangent question, but I think an important one, especially for people out there that are thinking maybe I want to try this. What's your work-life balance like? How have you kind of worked through that? Because you have the wife, you have kids.
Yeah.
What's that like for you?
It's tough, and especially starting out when you're, really doing everything yourself, and you kind of have to, just for economy and for quality control. And then you have to kind of pass the reins a little bit. But, I tell people my work-life balance doesn't come on a daily basis. It's more on an annual basis. I work 200 days straight all season, 18 hours a day. And it's not easy. But, my wife's able to come up on the weekends. The kids come up for a couple weeks at a time during the summer. And, we're able to make it work. And then in the off season, I'm really able to kind of spend a lot of time with the family, take care of, helping out my wife at home and all the things I'm not able to do during the summer. So, I kind of find that balance on a larger scale. And, that might not work for everybody. But to be honest, a 9 to 5, 300 days a year didn't really work for me after, 20 some years. So now, is this sustainable for the rest of my life? No, but, I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest. And, as the years kind of go by and we get more seasons under our belt, I'm able to pass the reins on certain things and focus on more of the business side and kind of growing the business and let some other folks help me operate it.
Very well put. And that's a great segue into growth and expansion. I did read the article published where you've opened up a lodge and have expanded the acreage that you have. Yeah. Talk a little bit about that. And does that open it up then to all 4 seasons? Or are you still going to take a season off?
It does. So, we're open year round now. We have 3 houses actually that are available. And those are available year round for, your typical vacation rental experience. So, we're able to offer horseback riding across the street there. It's 350 acres, all private land surrounded by Pike National Forest with great views of Pikes Peak. It's a really kind of awesome horseback riding experience. And down the road, we'll hope to build some more tents out there. And we got another 200-acre lot that's completely surrounded by national forest that we're going to do, zip lines and kind of adventure land, down the road, one thing at a time. But the opportunities are really endless. So while it's very daunting, it's exciting. And, the sky's the limit, which is an awesome feeling to have. But, a lot of pressure, too, at the same time. But, again, wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, and I have to imagine, and you have touched on this a few times, zoning, permitting, working with the county, making sure you're doing things up to code, et cetera. I mean, would you say that is probably one of the bigger challenges that you've had to face as you've went through development and just tried to expand and bring your ideas into reality?
It is. And, I think it's one of the big misconceptions because I get a lot of folks who call me up and ask for advice, which I'm happy to give. I think a lot of people think if you buy a big piece of land in the middle of nowhere, you can do whatever you want with it. And, and you can't. And there's only one Forest Service out here. And I need to be in their good graces for the rest of my life. And there's only one county office. And, once you start cutting corners and doing things the fast way, you get a reputation for being that guy and everything becomes impossible. So, from the beginning, let's take our time, do it the right way, and we're all going to sleep great. I'm not worried about anything because we've done everything the right way. It's not easy. And a lot of people tell you can cut this corner, cut that corner. And, maybe you can, maybe you'll get away with it, but you're always going to be worried about it. And, it's just going to rear its head down, in the worst possible time. You never know when. So it is a big obstacle, but you need to be patient. None of these things move quickly. And you just need to follow the process. When you're dealing in small town, small counties and stuff, there's a different way of getting things done. And like I said, I lived in New York City for 15 years. So you have to be adept at, getting things done in maybe a different way or at a different pace, but realize that you're in it for the long run. And this isn't, now, if you would have talked to me in 2019 when I was trying to open the doors and we're still dealing with this stuff, it was driving me crazy. Mm-hmm. But then I'm done. I don't have to deal with that again until we buy another property across the street at square one. But again, it's a blessing. But it is a big challenge, and it is something that, a lot of people may not think of and may not take the time to really do the reading, understand what are the regulations in that county, what are the regulations on the type of land that you are looking to purchase, what is the process for changing those uses. There's certain land uses that are permitted based on your zoning. And what's the whole process behind that? And, before you buy something, you might not get a solid answer. So I had to buy the property and then go in front of the county. But I did a lot of my homework in advance to realize what are the things that are going to be considered in that process, and what would be my arguments against or around those, things. And I had to basically sell it to myself that, I think I can get this process done. It's going to take X amount of time, double whatever you think it's going to take. If you think it's going to take 6 months, give yourself a year. Because you can't really do anything until all those check boxes are marked off and everything's good. Then you can start. And, you just can't put the cart in front of the horse.
Yeah, it's entrepreneurial spirit and faith and believing in your idea, and then, pivoting if something doesn't happen exactly the way you want.
Absolutely. But, do your homework. Don't jump in, foolhardily.
Absolutely. It's great advice. And I think the other side, a lot of people mention, I certainly can understand it, is financing. Now, you come from a finance background, so you may have a better understanding than most. But have you realized, as you kind of move through, especially growth and expansion, like how loans are working, how banks are responding to a glamping business, and being that it's new and maybe misunderstood?
Yeah. And it's a little bit of the same story with just about any, startup. And basically banks aren't going to talk to you. You really have to kind of prove yourself to some degree. So now that we've got a couple years in and, we're able to show revenue and profit and what our costs actually are and what maintenance actually looks like, and not just a bunch of projections, now banks might be willing to talk to me. But at the beginning, you really have to figure out that financing. I had to borrow every penny I could personally and got some personal investors and put every penny I had into it. So at the beginning, I wasn't able to get any bank loans, to be quite honest. Bought the property with a personal mortgage and luckily I had some understanding of finance. And so I think that did help. Just being able to piece all these different things together. There was no one solution. It's you make it work and you make every penny stretch as far as you can. But that's definitely a big trick. Now, I think one of the things I had going for me was it's a pretty cool idea and I'm really passionate about it. And so when I went to, investors, I didn't have to sell it. It was the first time I wasn't selling an investment. It was just, here's what I'm doing, and people wanted on board. And so, I think if you really have something unique to offer and you really have your heart behind it, I think that comes through. It's not about how sharp your PowerPoint presentation is. Although you do have to know your numbers and have your stuff together, people really are looking for that unique idea and somebody who is willing to do whatever it takes to make that happen. And you'll find support. I believe that. But, that's easier said than done.
I'm sure there's some people out there that would echo that. Speaking of that, so that you mentioned, there are other glamping outfits out there. Colorado has a bunch. How would you say, your property, Black Tree Resort, is different from some of the other glamping options out there?
Yeah, well, and that's really something we try to focus on, is differentiating ourselves. And I think the food is one of the biggest things. I don't know of anybody who offers all 3 meals delivered to you, custom, some places who have food, it's, more of a buffet kind of group dining experience, not the best quality. Maybe it's just a breakfast only type thing, which kind of leaves you high and dry for dinner and lunch, which I didn't quite understand. But so I think that's one of the biggest things. And again, the quality and the service of it. It's not just being fed. But the privacy, I think, is also another big factor. And one of the things that I never found to be adequate at any of the places that we went. Tents were packed, close together. I never found a place that gave you your own private bathroom. And so that was a big must do for us. So each tent gets its, you have your own toilet, your own shower, your own sink with a locked door, just like you do at home. And, it's not a locker room where you have to wear shoes in the shower. And I remember taking my boys one place and telling them, we just took a shower. Don't touch anything in this room, and we could do better. So between the food, the bathrooms, you get your own golf cart to get around the property, which people get it. I chuckle because people will drive 2.5, 3 hours to get here and then joyride in the golf cart. That's the first thing they do. Kids get a kick out of it, and it's just fun. And it takes all the cars away from the tents. There's no headlights or car alarms going off in the middle of the night, and it just feels a lot safer and a lot more like you're camping. But if you need to get down to the lobby here, you're here in 45 seconds. Between all of that, the privacy, the food, the bathrooms, the golf cart, those are all things that you just don't find anywhere, to be quite honest. And it's funny. We're charging, we're pretty comparable in price, but we just offer so much more. And we hear that time and again from our guests. So it's really worth it. And when people walk away, I've had moms in the lobby here in tears giving me a hug, say, this is the first time my daughter's talked to me and stuff. That's just priceless.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes it all worth it.
It does.
So you got your money. We've got the permitting. We've got the zoning. You built the tents. You figured out you want to serve food. You've kind of figured out a formula that you feel would be successful. Now you have to get the word out. How do you approach that? How have you done that, especially considering that you do have other glamping options nearby? How do you try and separate yourself? What kinds of avenues and platforms do you use to try and get the word out about Blacktree?
Absolutely. Well, this type of business, just by nature, there's no traffic. There's no walk up traffic. There's no foot traffic or even really much motorized traffic that you're trying to say, hey, pull over, come on in and go glamping. That's not that type of offering. So you got to realize that your storefront is really online. And that being said, your website is what people are going to base kind of their, it's the initial reaction. And it gives them a sense of what they're going to experience when they get here. So, I did all the photography and I was waking up at, 2:00 in the morning to catch sunrise right over a bagel and, just really going overboard because we knew that was the first thing that people were going to see. If they heard about us, they're going to go to our website, and what they see needs to make them want more and to see more and to do that. I want to do that. And so we really spent a lot of time on the photography and just the whole look and feel of the website to be up to par to the experience. And so my opinion, it feels a little luxurious. It feels comfortable and warm and not pretentious, but high end and sharp and clean. Those are all the things I want the camp to be. So those are all the things I want my website to be. And, I had a lot of help, you kind of said earlier, I'm the cook, I'm the, architect, I'm the engineer, all that stuff. But I also lean on a lot of people, and I know what I'm not good at. And, getting people to help with design and just layout. And, while I had a heavy hand in everything, I really let people do what they do best and kind of put my 2 cents in, but, try to step back a little bit and let people help you. But you need to have the vision. You're You're the boss. And so you need to give them some direction as to how they can help you. You can't just ask someone to help. You really need to articulate how they can help and what you need from them. And so building the website, getting that, that was kind of a big deal because I knew, again, that's where people were going to see us. And it's a very visual offering. What we have, there's just great pictures, great views. It's, which kind of leads me to the second part, which is kind of the social media and search. Those are our two big marketing efforts. Most people find us on search, but then they go to social media to kind of verify us and get some more context as to, okay, here's this website. I get it. Here's they got food and tents, but then they go on social media and see all these pictures that guests post and, just see the look on other guests' face. And that's more than any review or any explanation that I could give as to why you should come here, is seeing why other people came here. So we try to amplify that as much as we can on social media and try to get our search, as visible as possible. So if somebody looks for glamping in Colorado, there's no way they don't see us. That's my goal. We got a long ways to go on that, to be quite honest. We're still working on it, but that's the big effort, is to make yourself visible, get your billboard up as high as you can for as many people to see. And I'm not talking about an actual billboard, but,
smoke signals.
Exactly. Out here, that's what we use. But then word of mouth just becomes kind of the engine. Mm-hmm. And then all these things are there to back it up. So, we've had, I don't know, maybe 20% of our guests this year were repeat guests, and this was our fourth season. So they've been here in the last 3 years and they're coming back. Mm-hmm. And I kind of make sure that my whole team is aware of that. We really want to go above and beyond. It's not just about doing our job or doing the certain steps or requirements. It's whatever it takes to really get their jaw to drop. And then we've got it, then we've nailed it. And it could be different for anybody. But when you focus on that and really the quality of your product, word of mouth kind of takes care of a lot of it.
Makes sense. And I think word of mouth, like you said, especially with a new industry like glamping, because, I do get a lot of questions that are really, what is glamping?
Yeah.
And so right off the bat, you're trying to explain something that really has only been a word since 2005, according to the dictionary. So.
Which sounds about right. I mean, and even then, I think people are redefining it. I'd like to think that we're trying to redefine what exactly it is and what it could be, and just knowing that there's different levels of glamping. It's not just one experience.
Yeah. There's partner platforms, obviously, Airbnb, Vrbo, TripAdvisor, lots of Expedia, places that do focus on vacation rentals. But with glamping being such a new category, and maybe not even something that's their primary focus, what's been your experience like with have you partnered with any of them? Good, bad? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, we did initially with just about everybody, hotels.com, Expedia, Airbnb and everything. And what I realized was, they weren't really driving any traffic to us. The only times where people were going through those channels was when we were fully booked and mm-hmm. they were trying to do an end around, so to speak, and book through some other engine, but they weren't really bringing anything to the door. And, you're giving up some of the control over your inventory. And if they do book anything, you're giving up, commission on their end. Mm-hmm. Which I wouldn't mind, to be honest, if they were driving traffic to us. But glamping is such a unique thing. You're not going on Expedia to find a glamping experience. Most people are going on a search engine on Google and typing in glamping and seeing what comes up and going from there. So we kind of backed off from that. We had a couple issues where, it was creating overbooking and double booking and it just wasn't driving enough traffic, and we're paying a commission. Mm-hmm. And why are we dealing with these headaches? We turned them off for the most part. You can find us on Expedia, but you're going to see that it says go, contact the company for to make a reservation.
So aside from all the work, I mean, soup to nuts, you're doing it all. You said you'd take some time off. What do you like to do when you're not running a glamping business?
Working, yeah. Well, so we closed up October, what was it, 16th, and we took off to Mexico. Wife and kids went to Puerto Vallarta for 10 days and just relaxed. Nice. And got some sun and waves, and had a great time. Being served by someone else, eating someone else's cooking. So gotta be good to be on the other side of things for a little bit. But it's funny. I literally can't take my cap off, and just seeing a resort and how it's run through the eyes of a resort owner now, it's just totally, it's a funny perspective to have. But I'm always on the lookout for new ideas and things like that. So that was fun. And, in the wintertime, I, try to help the boys out as much as I can with school. And, we usually go somewhere for the holidays to my family's all over the place, Florida, California, Ohio. So, we try to do something for the holidays. And I do love to go skiing. So the past couple of years, it's been tough. So hopefully I'll get a couple days in this year. And then before you know it, spring rolls around, and it's time to dust everything off and get the ball rolling. So
back at it again. Well, I have a set of questions that I would love to incorporate if you're open to it. It was they were created by a guy named Bernard Pivot, but it was made popular on a show called Inside the Actor Studio, which was hosted by a gentleman named James Lipton. And he used to go through a series of questions that he would finish his interviews with, which I always found enlightening. And I told myself, if I ever do an interview, I'll include it. And since this is the first one and I finally have an opportunity, here we go.
Let's do it.
All right. What is your favorite word?
Favorite word? Well, to be honest, shit.
Fair enough. What is your least favorite word?
My least favorite word. Wait. As in delay.
As in WAIT. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
Creating something that wasn't there before.
What turns you off?
Not being productive.
I think I know the answer to this one, but what is your favorite curse word?
Shit.
There you go. What sound or noise do you love?
My boys laughing.
What sound or noise do you hate?
My boys crying.
There you go. You're on a second career now, but what profession other than your own or your previous would you like to attempt?
It's funny. If you would ask me that when I was in finance, I would have had all kinds of ideas. Haven't thought of that, and I really, this is it. I jokingly tell people I'm retired. This is just a hobby. That's definitely a joke, but I really feel that like this is it. And it's not like I just do one thing. So this job will become all kinds of different things for me, but never even thought of it.
It's a good answer. I like it. What profession would you never like to attempt?
Going back to finance. No, I can't be so harsh on that. But what would I never like to do? I think the military would be very difficult for me.
The final question, and I'll use the word heaven, but kind of imagine just the next phase. Yeah. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive?
That's a good one. Probably I told you so.
There you go. I think that's a great place to end.
Awesome.
Nabil, I really thank you for your time. I think you're doing a wonderful job there. So I think you're doing awesome.
Well,
congratulations.
I hope we lived up to that expectation, and it's really an honor.
You certainly have. Well, listen, we'll be in touch. Thank you for your time.
Thank you again. It's been great being here and part of something. Hopefully it's on to bigger and better things.
Hey, growth and expansion, right?
That's it. All right.
All right. Bye, Nabil. Thanks again for joining us on this episode. I hope you enjoyed listening to our conversation as much as I had having it. And I'd also like to thank Nabil for his time. He's such a wealth of knowledge and a wonderful human being, and he runs a fantastic resort at Blacktree. If you do get the chance to visit, I highly recommend it. And if you would like to book, you can do that right on his website, which is at www.blacktreeresort.com. That's www.blacktreeresort.com. Thanks again for joining us on this episode. We have many other great episodes coming up down the way. If you go to www.glamptuary.com, you can subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Until then, safe travels.